Hello everyone, welcome to the Scumdog's Kennel. I'm your host, Chris Williams, and in today's Cryptid Corner mini-episode, today I have a couple of alien encounter stories. One, this man swears that in his dream, it was very bizarre, folks. In this dream, he encountered alien beings and he says it was real. In another account, this couple encountered these 6 alien entities that emerged from a ship. Let's read this first story. Alien dream or otherworldly abduction. Experiencer describes possible close encounters. Let's read the opening to this article, folks. After years of without strange encounters, a former Arizona UFO experiencer living in Maine was jolted awake by what felt less like a dream and more like an abduction, complete with alien evaluations, missing time, and chilling revelations about God and humanity, but with an open window in the dead of winter. Frostbitten hands and warnings of a return. Was this just imagination or undeniable evidence of an ongoing extraterrestrial presence? That was quite the opener, folks. Let's get into the actual account now, though. Hello, I used to live in Phoenix, Arizona, and over a decade ago, I experienced at least 4 episodes of seeing unidentified flying objects, or UFOs. One of those episodes was followed by about 6 hours of missing time, and on another occasion, I woke up to find my hair in a huge tangled mess, something I've never seen with my fine hair before or since. I have previously reported these events on this website. It has been many years since I've seen anything in the sky or had any strange experiences. I moved to Maine 8 years ago, and unfortunately nothing happened until last night when I had the most intense dream of my life. In the dream, I was back in Arizona along with several other people, and we were taken away after a whirlwind. I was running to hide in a closet, praying as if it were the end of the world or my life, and I am an atheist. I was taken to an indeterminate station where I was evaluated by aliens that looked like human-sized embryos in suits. They had something attached to my mouth for breathing and asked me if I smoked cigarettes. Then they had me smoke through this ectoplasm-like attachment. They also seemed to be examining my body and communicating something about my foot. I have an infection in my right great toe that I've had ever since. I slammed my foot in a door many years ago. I will either have to remove my nail or live with this nasty fungal infection for life. Moving on, I was then brought to what appeared to be a different galaxy filled with millions of people. I felt my body was hefty and quite cold. They first greeted me with a hand signal that I couldn't replicate. I kept asking questions about God, the afterlife, and whether I would see my family again. They told me that the biblical God was not true. They even asked if they could pick up my mother the following day, but I explained that she was a religious woman and would likely be frightened by this experience. They gave me something to drink, but I apparently drank too much, and they had to keep me longer for observation. I looked at my hands, which appeared frostbitten. I explored this new galaxy, which had housing installations similar to ours, but with a kind of flexibility that I can't quite explain, and everything was moving very fast. Eventually, I was taken back to the original examining room, where I asked when they would be back. They said in 2007. Very interesting dream, folks, but remember, this guy was living in Maine at the time, and apparently they told him they would be back in 2007. So maybe this was some sort of suppressed memory that had remained dormant in this man's mind until, well, years later. At least that's the thing I, have come to a conclusion about this story, folks. It's possible, I think. Either way, it is certainly a bizarre idea. But let's finish up this article, and then we can discuss this story before we read the next article I have for us to read today, folks. I woke feeling as if I had just emerged from anesthesia with my whole body tingling for about an hour afterward. I kept feeling the skin on my face because it seemed to be absent in space or just felt different. I couldn't explain it. I quickly reasoned that 2007 was a year in time and convinced myself that this was just a very intense dream. I was pretty shaken up by it and noticed that my window was open in the dead of winter. I'm unsure what to make of this experience. Although I used to have contact with UFOs in Arizona, this is the first bizarre event that has occurred since I moved to Maine. Was it a dream or virtual reality? I honestly don't know, but it shook me up P. So, what can we say about this story, folks? It seems to me that I've heard about such phenomena before, folks, where people have experiences that really feel like basically suppressed memories. Maybe this experience did happen to P here, folks, but for whatever reason it was suppressed, and when he was living in Maine, folks, that was the time that this experience came back to him through a dream. At least that's what I'm thinking here, folks, because that's what it feels like what we just read through. But let's move on to the next story, folks, and then we can talk about the story we just read through, as well as this startling account as well. 6 unknown entities emerged from metallic craft in snow-covered French field. Let's get into the story now, folks, and hear exactly what happened by reading the opening and then getting into the actual account of the witnesses. On a winter night in Mirarex, Nord, France, 2 witnesses watched in disbelief as a massive metallic UFO landed nearby and released 6 distinct beings, 3 humanoids, 2 human-like figures, and a fur-covered creature unlike anything known. But when the strange procession, suddenly reversed course and the craft shot skyward in a blaze of shifting colors, the chilling mystery remained. What were these entities searching for in the frozen fields of France? Wow. Let's get into the actual account now, folks. A man and a woman in a parked car on the Canigny Road in Murex, Nord, France, noticed a white metallic-looking hemispherical object approximately 50 feet wide in the snow-covered fields about 100 yards away. Soon after, a dark opening appeared in the object, from which 6 beings of 3 different types emerged. That's quite terrifying, folks. This is almost the opening to basically some sci-fi horror movie here, folks. The different bizarre entities emerging from it really give you the feeling that if you were there, folks, you would probably be so scared you couldn't move. At least that's what I'm thinking here. Let's read on and see if basically my judgment on this, experience is true or not, if these people are so frightened. So let's read on. First, 3 small humanoids around 4 feet tall appeared. They had large heads, protruding eyes with noticeable whites, holes for noses, narrow mouths, and bulging cheeks. Their arms were long, and they wore tight-fitting, metallic-looking one-piece suits. Each of them carried a dark box, 6 inches on each side, with a round, luminous white screen on the upper surface. They strolled, their steps stiff and small, and fanned out as if searching for something. Gradually, they approached the road, coming within 50 feet of the witnesses. Behind them, closer to the hemisphere, stood 2 human figures approximately 6.5 feet tall. They had light complexions and blonde, shoulder-length hair, and also dressed in tight-fitting metallic suits. Closest to the opening was a squat figure covered in dark fur, resembling a bear, or great ape with long dangling arms. So, was that possibly some sort of Bigfoot sighting as well, folks, in this story, folks? Let's read on and find out. After about 10 minutes, when the small beings began to approach the car, the young woman became frightened, jumped out, slammed the door, and ran back to her own car nearby. At this moment, the man observed that all the figures stood still. Then the animal re-entered the object, followed quickly by the 2 humans, and then the 3 humanoids, who ran back with such long, swift strides that they appeared to be flying over the ground. The dark opening vanished and the UFO assumed a brilliant metallic hue. It then rose vertically for 30 feet before shooting off to the west, changing from orange to blue to red until it eventually dwindled to a point the young woman noticed only the retreating luminous object. The witnesses did not look for traces in the snow. However, strange tracks were found later that morning by Miss Michael and her children in the garden in Marbugi, which is 1.1 miles away, implying a possible connection. Jay. What can we say about Jay's experience, folks? In this account, he meets these, or basically sees these small beings in metallic suits that seem very reminiscent of gray aliens, or maybe, the story involving Captain Aura Rains and her own crew from an old UFO encounter that took place decades ago, folks, were these humanoid beings that were basically no more than 5 feet tall, along with Aura Rains, their captain. And while they were humanoid, they were very short. And then we have this, mention of these Pleiadian-looking beings, these 2 blonde-haired, 6.5 feet tall beings that seem very reminiscent of them. I mean, the Pleiadians, or the Nordics as they're known, folks, are known as basically being humanoid and being indistinguishable from regular humans. And then there's this Bigfoot-looking creature, this hairy bear or ape-like creature that was seen as well, folks. We've talked about before, folks, about alien Bigfoots. Now, in these cases, folks, some people have speculated that maybe Bigfoot, or at least maybe some variety of them, are, in contact with alien beings or aliens themselves. Could this basically be an example of such an encounter, folks? Perhaps. It is certainly a very odd one. Until more information about this story and the other one we just read emerges, we'll just have to wait. But folks, we're at the end, so please go subscribe to my YouTube channel. Read comics, they're bad for you. You can use the YouTube link down below in the descriptions or the chat to go subscribe to me. Hit that like button for me. Make sure you're still subscribed. Leave some comments down below. Hit that bell for notifications. Hit the part of the bell. That'll give you all future notifications, and please share this video out. I'm Chris Williams from the Scumdog's Kennel. Thank you all for joining me. I'll be back again tomorrow with another great video, so be sure to come back again then. Till next time, folks, I'll see you all again soon.